While in his early 20s, Josh Chatoki was
Krista, how
Yeah.
willing would you be to read a 7-page stupid thing?
Somewhat willing.
Let me know when you're fully willing. At this point, I have worked on it so long, I no longer give a fuck whatever happens to it. But
Just a reminder to mute your mics. Thank you.
fully willing, I wish you.
Aloha, good morning. Thank you for joining us for this morning's Professional Development Day. On behalf of the committee, that's me, I'm Jerry Lynn Ornelas. We have our chair, Mr. Kevin Morita, and Ms. Catherine Alarcio here. We welcome you this morning to enjoy our language and literacy of multicultural music making. So before we start anything, I'm just gonna ask that you join us in a minute of mindfulness. And for this minute of mindfulness, if you can just close your eyes. You can do this with your screen on or off. And I'm just gonna repeat a phrase a couple times and just have that phrase going in your head. It's gonna be, may I be happy, may I be well, may I be filled with kindness and peace. May I be happy, may I be well, may I be filled with kindness and peace. And let that just resonate in your head for about 30 seconds. Take out the I's for we's or anyone you choose. And just let that sit as we gather our thoughts and start this morning in a positive direction. May I be happy, may I be well, may I be filled with kindness and peace. And when you are ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. All right, so to start off this morning, we're gonna start with our presidential address from Dr. J. Saplan. Dr. J. Saplan is the Director of Choral Activities at our own University of Hawaii at Manoa, as well as our Hawaii ACDA President. Can we give a warm, muted applause for Dr. J. Saplan?
Mahalo nui, Jerry. Velina mai kako, aloha nui, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. It is such an incredible experience to be able to share our community and our mana'o, our thoughts, and our mo'olelo, our stories with all of you folks, whether you are here and situated in Hawaii nei, or if you are abroad. I just want to make send a reminder to you folks that if you are able, please mute your microphone. One more time, a gentle reminder, please mute your microphone throughout our time together. Thank you. Aloha no. Before I go ahead and situate ourselves with some mana'o, with some thoughts, I would like to extend a word and thoughts of gratitude to our outgoing president, Alex Schumacher, as well as our outgoing secretary, John Alexander. These two individuals, Uncle John and Dr. Schumacher, have created such an incredible kahua, such an incredible and sturdy foundation for our community of choral artists here in Hawaii to thrive and to look into the future and to also know our legacy. And it is with that style of leadership that we begin a new time, a new mo'olelo, and we root and we link ourselves to these two individuals who have worked so incredibly hard and who have sought the need to mentor and to develop and to assist so many of us throughout our lives as choral musicians and choral artists. So can I invite all of us to just applaud these two incredible individuals. Mahalo nui, thank you. I'm going to begin with some announcements. The first announcement is this year, as we begin to situate ourselves into a new normal and a very unique time, we now have repertoire and resource chairs. And these roles are meant to help create resources and to help build community within the separate factions or focus areas of our choral craft here in Hawaii. Noting that, I would like to introduce our K5 Repertoire and Resource Chair, Sarah Young from St. John Vianney in Kailua, Hawaii. Vanessa Kawata, who will serve as our Middle School Repertoire and Resource Chair at Pearl Harbor Christian Academy. Mike Lippert, who is our High School Resource Chair, who teaches at Punahou School. And my colleague, Professor Nicholas Mathern, who is a choral director of the University Choir and will help out with the choral faculty at the University of Hawaii. And for community and worship choruses, I also would love to extend a mahalo to Ben Sobel, who is the director, course director of Honolulu Blend. So these individuals are important for us in our community as they will be pico or center points of communication, of gathering, and of the dissemination of resources as we progress forward into the future. I would also like to introduce and for us to be aware of our executive board, our vice president / past president, Dr. Alex Schumacher. He's not going anywhere. He will always be with us forever. Thank you, Dr. Schumacher. We have a new secretary who is also our elementary repertoire and resource chair, Sarah Young. And of course, our treasurer, our beloved Auntie Wanda Garibin. So let's get started on Mana'o, on information. I am sending you folks a Google document right now that will provide some assistance as we navigate into our day together. In this document that I've just put into the chat, you will find the National ACDA response for COVID-19 that was shepherded by our National ACDA President, Lynn Gackel, on choral faculty at Baylor University in Texas. Ooh, you need edit access. Let me go fix that. Thank you so much. You know what? I'm gonna make you all editors. Lucky people. Also in this document, you also have a link to the Western Region ACDA Task Force on Innovation, words, that many people in Hawaii have also participated in. This task force, their kuleana, their responsibility was to delve further from the national ACDA resources and to specifically offer more resources and best practices for K5, 6-8, high school, 2-year, university, professional, community choir, and youth community courses. So you will, that's been a very cherished resource for me as well as I consider my work with UH in the fall. And I encourage you all to do the same, to take a look at those things, because it also offers information of hybrid instruction, face-to-face instruction, and also completely virtual instruction, depending on who we are and where we may be. As many of us know, there is a performing arts aerosol study that is sponsored by the University of Colorado at Boulder. And this study is sponsored by many performing arts organizations throughout the country. This past week, the National Federation of High Schools, the container for that study, sponsored by CU Boulder, has published pre-preliminary results. And so I just want to take some time to talk about the scientific process and our kuleana, or our responsibility to data. It's so important that as we navigate risk mitigation for our time as educators in the choral craft, that we understand that our work as artists is also incredibly linked to data and the vetting of data. That being said, as we look at this study that has been published, in which most of the pre-preliminary results have been allocated towards wind instruments, you will also see that there's information available for the soprano voice. And there are a lot of implications to draw from that specific study. It's important to note, though, that this is pre-preliminary. And what that means is it is first week's findings. And if you consider the scientific method, so much of what we do with data as educators rooted in action research, as community course directors that note that using score study and other methods of research are incredibly important, that it will take weeks for this study to be considered valid. So validity requires time. And even when the study is being published out, it is a singular study. And so much of what is important within our work as educators is to consider that critique, and that research also requires contrarian and alternative research methodologies as well. I cannot wait when, once the CU Boulder study is released, that more studies will kupu or sprout forth as well. So be very vigilant when considering this data. That is all. What came from this study as well, that has been a very important instrument for myself, is the risk estimator tool that is also paired with the CU Boulder study. This risk estimator tool provides an algorithm of different factors that we can input within our rehearsal space as we consider what instruction could look like, the duration of instruction, and how many learners we have in a room. Within this algorithm that we can input data freely, we acknowledge the following components. What is the size of my rehearsal space? How many learners do I have in a room, or singers? Also, what is the space enclosed? What is the air filtration rate, which we may need to get that information from a facilities manager or what have you? Or are we rehearsing outside? Are our singers using masks? How long is the rehearsal? I think I said that already, kalamai. And also, how far are my singers being spaced apart? 6 feet, 10 feet, farther. I inputted multiple variables or circumstances when considering what UH could look like, the UH Kroll program could look like in the fall. And you see the mitigation or the input of risk if we are in our beloved 36, which many of you folks have sung in before. Oh, how we love that place. If we are in 36 with the door open, if we are in Orvis Auditorium, and if we are in a 10 by 20, in a large tent. I'm not gonna give out more quantitative numbers around tents because, as we all know, my spatial reasoning is very limited. So if we consider all of those components, there are variables of risk that we use, but these things remain true. If there is any face-to-face instruction, or even if we consider the opportunity or idea of singing, the best practice around the very thought or possibility of face-to-face instruction that houses any sort of singing requires the use of masks. And things are significantly reduced, risk is significantly reduced if we open ourselves to the possibility of singing outside. If I will never, with information and data being constantly vetted, risk is not an on and off switch, right? Risk is an entire color palette of consideration. And so if you are in a space to even consider face-to-face singing, I encourage you to take a look at the duration of singing. If you have a 2-hour rehearsal in an enclosed space, I strongly recommend against it. However, if you are doing loose humming or singing on vowels for 5 to 10 minutes at a time, anything under 20 minutes in an enclosed space, that could possibly be considered. But the minute that we encounter the thought of vocal pedagogy, of phonation in an enclosed space, we have to be incredibly vigilant with the tools around risk mitigation. Yes, Susan, singing is lovely outside in Hawaii, and I'm so sorry about the -30 and -40. And we will shroud you with the warmth of our aloha spirit. We love you, Susan. Thank you for sharing that. I also wanted to put out 2 more things which will kind of be main vessels of communication. And that is our Hawaii chapter WordPress account, which can be considered our website. On that, we have tools for advocacy. If you're in a place at any point in the year where you need a packet of advocacy, a letter of support, any sort of thing that helps defend or speak or kako'o, uprights your program or uplifts your program, we have those resources on that website. We also have a newsletter that will be launched out in a quarterly fashion throughout the year. Our first installment was just put out thanks to editor Vanessa Kawata. We also have just resources for connection. And for those of you who are out of state, it's basically a peek into what we do here at HI-ACDA and the legacy that we come from. We also started a YouTube account. We have a flashback from our previous webinar that we did on worship and the safety of worship and singing. And we also have a detailed step-by-step process of how to do your own virtual choir by Professor Nicholas Mathern. I'm gonna be really quick, and I just want to share some very quick points of mana'o before I open it up into the breakout rooms and let our repertoire and resource chairs do their thing. Sorry, I don't know why I muted myself. Okay, there we go. Can everybody see my screen? Can you give me a thumbs up if that's okay? Yeah, good, thank you. I see you, Shanita, mahalo, that was helpful. So what I have pictured here is just a moment of inspiration. And this is the a'ali'i, which is super funny because in an English vernacular and in a Western perspective, it's a bush. But in a Hawaiian perspective, it is an incredible resource or an incredible symbol of resilience. And it is also very known for la'au lapa'au, for Hawaiian medicinal practice, as well as an incredible adornment of lei. We celebrate the a'ali'i with this Hawaiian proverb that I gift to you as a means of inspiration. And the Hawaiian proverb goes like this: He a'ali'i ku makani maiau, a'ohe makani nana e kulai. To enshroud this with an English poetic translation essentially is, the a'ali'i bush stands against strong winds, and never shall it ever be uprooted. And so I encourage us at this time to consider that there are many factors that we must root ourselves against, considering everything that's going on within the national climate, considering everything that's going on within the pandemic, considering all of this discussion with HSTA, with DOE, within our respective systems of faith, and with our boards on discussing what it means to be safe in a space of uncertainty. I encourage you, and I want you to understand that our ohana at HI-ACDA will do everything that we can to make sure that you are informed, that you are supported, and that you are rooted. Because let us in this space, in our community, be like the a'ali'i. With that said, I want to mahalo you folks for being here. I'm very excited. I'm so excited to have guests from all over the Honua, all over the world to be here with us and to share their knowledge. Now we're gonna go ahead and invite our repertoire and resource chairs to walk us through some more resources and to create spaces of community. So Jerry, are the breakout rooms ready to go?
Yeah, so the breakout rooms are ready to go. If you did not fill out that breakout room form, what I did is I took one of the places, one of the check marks that you checked off, and I put you into one of those groups. So everybody should be able to get out into a breakout room. And I am opening them now. All right, have fun in the breakout rooms, guys.